You're listening to the Digital Deep Dive, where we tackle the newest trends, strategies, and pain points shaping growth across the digital landscape. From Amazon and D2C to international expansion, join our host and e-commerce leaders across multiple industries for in-depth discussions on how to maximize your brands in the digital arena. Now, here's your host, Aaron Conant.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Digital Deep Dive podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Conant, and today we're going to do a deep dive on retention marketing across the board, best practices. What I'm hearing from brands on a consistent basis now is less money to spend, need to be more impactful. We can't afford to have sales go down. What are those things that we can do to get more bang for the buck? I guess is essentially it. And so I have a longtime friend, great name here, Aaron Schwartz. From Orita. They're doing a lot of cool stuff in this space. I have a lot of brands using them, and we just become friends over the years. And so I thought I'd invite him on just to kind of have a candid conversation on what they're seeing in this space as a whole. But, Aaron, I'll kick it over to you if you want to do, an intro on yourself. I mean, try to keep it under 30 minutes, right?
I'll see what I can do. Please check out my LinkedIn at. Well, as the second best Aaron on this podcast, I'm very flattered to be here. Thanks for having me, man. It's always delightful to kind of chop it up with you. My very abbreviated background. So co-founder of Orita.ai right now. We do AI segments for kind of brands. We help them stop emailing people all the time, stop using rules of thumb, and actually tap into all the data points that they have to figure out who wants to hear from you and who doesn't. Going very well. It's very fun. But back in the day, I kind of got into the space on a lark. I was a consultant, and then I did my MBA, and then I started a brand in 2010, and it was meant to be a 3-month project, and it turned into 7 years full-time, and then 2 years kind of part-time. And then we sold the company to Custom Ink, which was really exciting. Not a great financial outcome, an incredible life experience. And in 2017, I switched much more to kind of commerce enablement. So co-founded a company called Passport Shipping that's doing amazingly well. It's now Passport Global. They serve God knows how many brands who are trying to build their business globally. And then wound my way to be the president at a company called Loop Returns, which is returns and exchanges for a lot of the Shopify ecosystem. I was an advisor, stepped in around go-to-market, switched over to product. It was just like a joyful experience. And then in late 2022, found myself on the sidelines and very happy. Our daughters were on the ballpark of 4 and 6 or 5 and 7 at the time. I know how old they are. I know their birthdays. And I was advising startups again and just consulting and literally only spending time with founders under the framework of, if I would work for her at any point in my career, I'd love to be spend time there, whether it was formal or informal. That wasn't, I wasn't trying to accrue a lot of cash or equity. It was let me just go spend time in the ecosystem. And I happened to meet my now co-founders, DB and Zach, who are building this consulting business, and they're brilliant machine learning engineers. And after a month of being an advisor, they asked if I want to be a co-founder. And it's I like to joke, everything was perfect in my life. So I figured maybe you can do better than perfect. And I'm much more tired than I was 2 years ago, but it has been very, very fun. I speak quickly. Hopefully that wasn't too long, but that's me, my man. Live in the Bay Area, but from Cleveland, Ohio, which is obviously the most important data point to a Michigan person.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yes. How are the Browns doing?
We trade for and then sign very bad people. So yeah. I can't root for the Browns.
Over and over again. Hey man, I was the Lions with the 0-16 season. So, but so then what are you seeing in this space? And I don't mind you sharing a little bit around Orita as well as what you do, just so people have kind of a context of how you live in this space as a whole.
Yeah. So I think something that we're seeing, because we serve a couple hundred brands right now, big, small, you name it. What we see is that acquisition costs have gotten much higher, and it is harder to target ... I'm not saying anything that people don't know, but what we see in the data is brands that are struggling then go to their quote unquote free channels, in particular email, and then go, cool, I'm struggling at other parts of my business. Let me go email the heck out of my audience. And so if it's a brand that used to send 3 campaigns a week, maybe they're sending 4 or 5. Maybe they're experimenting with de-anonymization tools, maybe, and like none of these things are right or wrong, right? It's like depends on the brand and the strategy and what they're doing. But when they get on that treadmill and they get a small kind of boost, right, from making more sales, the next week they then send more emails, and the next week they send more emails, and that works. I was actually talking to a buddy, Josh, who runs an agency called AMB, like literally this morning about this, and it's like it works for a month, and then you fall off a cliff, right? Like there's only so much you can kind of push at full throttle, and your audience is going to get burned out. And so there are a couple of reasons that happens, and your revenue then starts dropping much quicker. Number one is like a lot of people unsubscribe because you're annoying them. They don't want to hear from you all the time. There's probably a reason you had the cadence you had. Number two, when your click rate drops, Gmail starts downranking you. And when Gmail downranks you, a higher proportion of your emails go into spam instead of the inbox, right? And I'm not talking about promotions or inbox. I'm talking about like literally spam versus inbox / the promotions tab. And then the third thing is because of the difficulty with acquisition, right? Brands don't have a new audience to talk to. And so it's literally the same message to the same people, right? And you really need to keep expanding and growing. And so it's, the challenge I think that we're seeing for a lot is like, okay, cool. If acquisition marketing isn't the thing, how do you go create, and I hate to say this, I feel like such an old, but how do you create viral moments? How do you do collaborations that bring in a new audience, right? How do you find people that you aren't currently talking to, but who might like your product? And I think the brands who are doing that are the ones who are thriving. And I think the brands who are saying the same thing, just more of it, are actually not only struggling now, but are in for a very, very rude awakening post BFCM.
Yeah. So, the question I would have is, I totally agree that the easiest thing lever to pull right now is going to be email, SMS, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And you're right. They get that little taste of it, and then they keep pushing it until the part where you just run off a cliff. It just drops off. But there's got to be a spot or a way to do email better, right? It's almost like email was forgotten, right, for a little while. Especially that emails don't work. It's kind of like, catalogs don't work, that type of thing. But emails do work, and there just has to be a better way to do it, right? At the end of the day, because we're all in that spot where we get 5 or 6 emails a day from a brand that we like, and we just unsubscribe because it's annoying.
Yeah.
I still like the brand, and you're kind of torn. Like, I want to know about the offer, but I don't want 6 emails a day.
Yeah.
Or they're advertising the wrong products, or I only shop here once a year.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
yeah, man, I think it's a data problem that people don't know how to solve. Right. By the way, you mentioned catalogs and you mentioned emails works. Now catalogs work, direct mail works. We partner with Postpilot. So our first channel is email, and we do on Klaviyo. And now we're building our SMS product also on Klaviyo, though the intent is to move on to as many platforms as possible. Kind of like meet the brand where they're at, right? Like let them bring whatever tool they want. We partner with Postpilot on direct mail, and it is a wildly profitable retention channel if you look at the data and you go really deep on your segmentation and you understand when I send a postcard, who is which part of my audience is a postcard actually going to drive incremental profit? And if they're not, don't ship it. So I think the challenge for almost every brand is the data side. I can walk into kind of how I see that, if that's useful, or
yeah, I think it is, because I think people are overwhelmed, and we talk about segmentation, but what is that? What is the right way to do it? What is the tool to use to do it? Because it does make sense, right?
Yeah.
It costs less money, obviously, and you have a higher return if you're hitting the 10% for that product or that product category of your customers that are most likely to buy, and factoring out those people that don't.
Yeah.
But how is the question?
How? Again, it's like 50% of marketing is wasted, which 50% is the hard part. I'll kind of create a very stark contrast, and this is going to be such a silly example, but hopefully it makes the point for me. The best brands segment what we work with 70 or 80 Klaviyo agencies at this point, right? It's like people who are awesome. They only live and breathe retention marketing, right? It's like email, SMS, loyalty, ... They are thinking about what is the bespoke customer journey I can create? How do we do this right? The tools at your disposal are literally how many times did somebody do an action over what period of time? And then you can do if then, you can keep going. But what the vast majority of brands will do is some sort of like my highly engaged segment are people who clicked or opened or visited the site, whatever it is, in the last 60 days. Maybe it's 90 days. If it's a cookware company, maybe it's 360 days, right? Depends. Obviously, all this is quote unquote, it depends. But let's go with like the straight line apparel. Aaron Conant has clicked in the last 90 days. I'm going to send him an email. The reality is you might have clicked 89 days ago and been on the site for a tenth of a second. I might have clicked 91 days ago, 92 days ago, and 93 days ago. I might have spent $10,000 with the brand, and I purchase every 108 days. And so, like, if you think about emails, derivative from 108 days, I need to receive an email every 130 days. I actually might be the most engaged person, more engaged than everybody who's clicked in the last 90 days, right? Like more ready to purchase. But the tools that exist, you can't do that. You can't even do a basic, cool, if he's clicked in the last 90 days, send an email. If she's clicked more than twice, extend the 90-day window to 100 days, 3 times 110 days, right? You can't do any of that. Or if you can, and you do it manually, which is an insane consulting level, Excel wizard, ex-banker project that will take a ton of time, the next day you're wrong because you're a day closer to a sale or a day further from Black Friday, or you've got a product launch or different inventory. And so we just break all of this. And we're just like, let's not think about segmentation based on time bound. Let's go build a very, very big model, right? Like this is where I can't do any of this stuff. this is my co-founders, right? But it's like the average brand that we work with has 250 million customer engagement data points in Klaviyo. They're probably using 10,000 to make a decision, maybe 100,000. And so if we can build a model that is actually like updated every day to tell you Aaron wants to receive an email or Aaron doesn't, or candidly like force rank, right? Like from 1 to 100. Then all of a sudden you stop emailing people when they don't want to hear from you, which means they don't unsubscribe. You stop emailing them when they don't want to hear from you, which means they don't click. They don't not click. And by like saving a not click, I know too many double negatives, you're actually improving your deliverability for the next person. That's the magic that you want to get to. Like literally the brands are sitting on the data. They just don't have the tools to access it. They don't have machine learning engineers in-house. Even if they did, they only see their strategy. They don't see all the hundreds of other brand strategies that they could look at.
Yeah. No, I love it because I love walking through this because the takeaway from me is that the previous segmentation strategy and how they did it wasn't wrong. It's the only thing we had at the time. But over the past year and a half, 2 years, as machine learning, processing capability, everything to be able to do something at scale in a timely fashion at a reasonable cost, it was never here before. But now we're at a time where it is here, and brands can't afford, right, to just keep using the horse and buggy when there's a Ford F-150 there to haul stuff around.
Yeah. We like to think about it more like a Maserati or an Aston Martin, but that's fine.
Okay. Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. I like the analogy. But we're affordable like a Prius. I don't know where we're going with this.
Yeah.
Look, I was the brand owner who sent every email to every person every time. Yeah. I was like, this is really good shit. We're going to send it. Aaron should be so lucky to receive this email, right? And so I definitely was on that side of the spectrum in terms of I was thoughtful about our content. I was not thoughtful about do you want to hear from me or not. And I think once you put on the mindset of like, take off your marketer hat and put on your consumer hat, don't be the brand that emails somebody when you want to, be the brand that emails somebody when they want to hear from you. And the data shows they want to hear from you. And when you extrapolate that across multiple channels, you do it for email, you optimize your SMS, you optimize your direct mail, then you can actually start creating this like much bigger customer journey. I think it's just like, you're a brand owner. You're thinking about 4,000 different things. You run marketing, you're thinking about 2,000 different things. You're in CRM, you're still thinking about 1,000 different things. It's just like, it's hard. Our perspective on this, and this is not a Orita thing, this is like, I felt this at Loop, I felt this at Passport, is like, there are some things that the brand should never give up. Like unless you have an incredible agency, like owning your content, owning your creative, you understand your business better than anybody. You also know your merchandising, you know what's coming down the pipe with inventory, you know your cash flow, you know what risk. But knowing who wants to hear from you on email, which is like a big data problem, you guys only see your data. Like there are better ways to go figure this out by like tapping into the learnings of everybody else at the same time.
But then there's got to be. So does deliverability go up across the board then? So you're sending a ton fewer emails. They're more targeted. So I can see ROI goes up, right? But deliverability across the board has got to go up. You're not sending as many out.
Yeah, so it depends. I think about this analogous to like a credit score. If you're at a 770 and it would take an insane amount of work for you to get to an 800, don't do the work. Right. Unless you like have some massive purchase where like a tenth of a point and do you know what I mean? And interest rate matters. It's like with corporations, right? You don't need AAA rating. If you can get it by with a AA, get by with a AA. Like all the extra work to get there. It depends again on the scale and right. We have a lot of brands that undersend. So it's not about sending. It's not about deliverability. It is about inbox placement, but like if you fixate on that, you'll go look at the metric. You'll be like, oh, let us go optimize our click rate or let us optimize our spam rate. Like I would go the other way, which is like, stop thinking about that and start thinking about your customer. And when they want to hear from you, like the results that you're talking about will follow. So we'll have some brands where like their click rate, they send 5 emails a week and their click rate for their top tier is like 3 or 4%. Those people could literally stand another email and they would make a bunch more money. And guess what? Some of those people would unsubscribe. The click rate would go from 3 or 4% down to 1.5 to, but it's actually like the profit optimal choice. What we see right now, like literally at the stage where we're at, is like we've scaled wildly fast in the last 6 months. And I think, like having looked at the data, what happened was Google changed their rules in 2024. People like freaked out about infrastructure as they should have. They freaked out about their spam rate. And then at the same time, it got harder to acquire new customers. So they started sending more emails and they forgot to think about click rate. And it is finally catching up to a lot of brands where they're like, oh, I have a list of 2 million people and I'm making $8,000 on a campaign. And it's not like it's a bad brand. Do you know what I mean? It's like a well-loved, well-regarded brand with really good collateral. The answer is like, you're not even hitting the person's inbox. That is kind of part one. The other part is like brands are pretty stagnant on like trying new channels. I've mentioned direct mail. I might open up all of your emails. An email still may not be the thing to move me to purchase, but a postcard that's sent at the right time with the right discount where it's like literally an open rate because it's on my counter. Like I have to look at it before I throw it out. That is also great. Again, expensive, not if you target the right people.
You know, it's super interesting. Just, I mean, the evolution of it as a whole. And I don't know what the next segment is going to have to go after, but from a digital marketing standpoint, again, you know, cost to advertise goes up, overall revenue is slightly down, cost to acquire a new customer through the roof. We have to do everything we can with the current customer. And on the flip side, it also costs more than anything when you have somebody unsubscribe and leave.
I mean, the opportunity cost is bonkers. I will say that, like, I actually think there's still a ton of room. Like, I don't think CAC being high is fiat, right? Like, it happens, it expands and drops, and then there's a new channel and it expands. Like, it's the same cycle over and over and over. What I would say is, like, people do retargeting and they send to their entire list, or they use the same BS rule of thumb. Like, yep, they came to my site and they purchased once. That might be directionally correct, but like the person who came to their site a day longer ago than your window and purchased one fewer may actually be the best person. And so, like, how do you stop using rules of thumb and actually tap into the data and start excluding people who are not going to buy because of an ad, but like they're going to buy, like it is their season, they're going to buy. Don't do anything for that person. And so I think it's all like, I've definitely been like drunk the Kool-Aid on the data side. I was very much an intuitive brand founder. Like, we built really cool stuff. We told a story. We wrote handwritten notes to every customer. We were like a community-driven brand, as silly as that might sound, like 15 years ago. But that was like the core of our business. Right now, man, I wish I could like be a brand owner with all the tools that exist and all the data that's out there, even given how hard it is on CAC. Like, if you just are good with data, you can get so far ahead of your peer set.
I mean, is that like one of the, let me rephrase the question a different way. So you're talking to all these brands. What's the number one thing that you're running into that they're messing up in this space? Is it that we can go like two, you can go very tactical, but we could also go kind of what you're saying is that intuitive founder, right? Where it's working, but
So a lot of our brands, right? Like we'll work with like Third Love or Spanx, right? Tracksmith, like a lot of very, very large brands. We also work with a ton of long tail, smaller brands. Again, as the former owner of one of those guys, I love those guys. So like I feel it. I was also a pain in the ass when I was a small brand owner. So I'm empathetic to how hard that journey is. I think there's like a what I see behaviorally, and then I think there's a selfish. I'm going to say something that actually is going to come across as selfish, but I actually think like companies are doing it wrong. Behaviorally, there's the founder who got to this place, who's built the business, or there's a CMO who like came from whatever amazing company, who's wonderful at his or her job, and all these people are like, you don't get lucky and build $100 million business or $500 million business. Like you've got to be good, you've got to be relentless, you've got all this stuff, right? But if you aren't like urgently curious to go figure out what's next, and you keep running your same playbook, and you aren't adopting new tools, it's not even new tools. I think that's wrong. If you're not like kind of questioning your priors all the time, right? And just like really inspecting and really thinking about it. Um, I think those are the places where it becomes hard because you'll have the CRM manager who will look at us on a call and be like, guys, I know the data says I should send to 30% of my audience, but the CEO is mandating I send to 95%. And oh, by the way, she wants me to send another email tomorrow as well. And it's like, we can show you in the data that 98% of your revenue is going to come from the 30%, and everything else, like, yep, ostensibly you were giving up a percent or two today, but you're really not because you're actually saving that person. Right? You're going to burn a huge amount of your list for a like marginal dollar. It doesn't matter because, sorry guys, CEO wants me to do this. So I think that's like part one is just the mentality, and just like people who aren't in the know and aren't on the day to day are like creating have assumptions or creating boundaries for their team to go execute. I think the second one, which is selfish from an Orita perspective, but is literally like has flipped how I think about budgeting, is I think dollars are fungible, but companies are wildly different in how they approach retention and SaaS budgets versus performance budgets. We have brands who will pay us peanuts, like will have like a 200x ROI on email, and like they say it themselves, but they're like, sorry guys, our SaaS budget for this is X. And now we do direct mail and it's profitable, but it's like for some of these guys, they'll pay us 10 or 20x to do direct mail, literally something that like we have like full serve, like all the things on email, but it's because it's performance budget versus SaaS budget. And I think if brands were to think much more about the customer journey and about how do I go like the data around LTV, right? And like really think about retention as, oh, when my retention works, I actually get to go spend more confidently to acquire new customers, which creates this benevolent cycle of like you get fresh people in who are excited to hear from you. I actually think that is like, I don't know, I probably not saying this very well, but like I think people aren't thinking about the whole journey. They have like, they're literally looking at a spreadsheet to make a decision instead of being like, okay, if I were that customer, what would I want best?
So who's spearheading and retention marketing?
I mean, we like amazing CRM managers. It depends on the company, right? Like it's a CMO, right? And I always think about like CMO more than kind of any other title could come from so many different backgrounds, right? It's like you could be the product marketer, you could be the acquisition marketer, you could be a brand marketer, you could be like a an event marketer. Like you can all kind of grow up into like running this wildly difficult, important part of the brand, like the core of the brand. I don't know. We are very lucky to work with Klaviyo, which is obviously like a awesome platform, and we work with so many agencies. And Aaron, I think a big piece of our success, but also like our core strategy was we are going to stay in our lane and be great at the thing we do, and then have amazing partners who are great at the things they do, and it will be a 1+1=3, right? Because it's like I can give you the best timing in the world, but if your content is bad, that's a problem. But you get the best content in the world, and I'm going to unsubscribe if you message me at the wrong time. So it's really the magic happens when the two come together.
Yeah, I was just asking from the standpoint of it's often when a responsibility it doesn't have a true home, right? And for the longest time, email marketing for most, not all, so I don't want to offend any, but for most was again the rules based, set it and forget it, and hey, we want to get as many new emails in so we can dump them into maybe this segment, you could obviously put them in different cohorts, but I'm driven more by getting a new email in, a new phone number in, right? Than the performance of what we're going to do with that piece of data that we have.
Mm.
So get it in and put it in the system and hope it works. And so I think a lot of that is because it has been all over the place and nobody has really owned it. But we're at a point now where I think people, executive teams, leadership is saying, hey, by the way, you need to drive more revenue. What can we do without spending more money?
Well, I think when there's no longer free money out there, you care about profitable growth, right? You don't care about cost cutting. Like people always ask, hey, can we help them shrink their bill by cleaning their list? I'm like, you did not sign up for any of these platforms to cut your bill. You signed up so you could go grow and grow as fast as possible. So like, let's focus on that. Aaron, what else do you see? Like I don't know, you talk to such a broad group of brands, retailers, like you see it all, like in a way that, one day I hope to, like I'm still in my niche. What are the other themes that you're hearing from them, whether it's related to retention or kind of broader marketing, aside from what we've discussed?
Yeah, I mean, I'll only spend maybe 45 seconds on AI. I'll give you my quick rundown. There's a lot of fantastic AI-driven tools that are out there that aren't ready to be rolled out to multiple brands because every brand you try to roll it out to. So the AI, this stuff really, really works.
Yep.
They've got their trial brand, right? Their use case, their case study, and it really works. And they spent 6 to 9 months doing it. That integration, and they advertise it, they show it, they walk through the demo, and a new brand says, "I want that." They plug it in. And where that AI goes to harvest all the data is in a different PIM, DAM, CRM, ERP, OMS, WMS, whatever it might be. Yeah. And the AI breaks down. Now, that tool really works. And so I have a lot of people asking well, when is AI going to help me do the next thing? Yeah. And it's not. So that thing goes into people are going through these massive data cleansing, data cleaning, data optimization projects. And for these AI tools, it doesn't matter. It's so your data is now a little bit cleaner. It's just in a different spot, but it's still in a different spot than everybody else. And so you can spend hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars and you'll get a very, very clean data set that is meaningless to any of these AI tools that are out there. And so I'd done a podcast with Joe Lux over at Data Links, who's built a company that helps solve that, which is pretty cool. And then that would get into this AI stuff that's very unique around pretty much a limitless different departments. Just doesn't have to be e-com, digital, to go into procurement or whatever. People are really pining away for that. And then after that, if we set that aside, what's coming up a ton is around the SEO, the GEO, the AEO, so the generative engine and the answer engine, whatever we call these things. We could make up acronyms all day to cover it. Is how do we show up? So the fundamental driver of retention marketing is how many new people can we get in, right? And then we can, once they're in, then we can, keep going to them. And because we have discussed here, people have not optimized that end, especially from email. They've not optimized it. That's one of the things I love what you guys are doing in the space is you're adding superpowers to that and delivering results, which is amazing. The front end, they're more focused. It's funny to me. They should be focused on what you're doing first and then who they're feeding into it, right? But nonetheless, they're trying to figure out how do we get more people on site and how do we handle this SEO and GEO? Yeah. And where do I show up and how do I show up?
That stuff sounds exhausting, man. I got on a long tail SEO kick. I used to write so much content. We ranked the word modify, which is the name of the brand, ranked ahead of Merriam-Webster and Wikipedia. We were first. There's no reason for me to have cared about that, but for some reason I was like, oh, we're going to win a lot of long tail search. Of course, nobody's looking for custom watch. You know what I mean? It was but it was fun. It was a game. So I definitely, I definitely get it, which was like, okay, this is the only thing I'm thinking about. And I completely missed the boat on how do I give a great experience to the person who's already in the funnel. So if nothing else, I'm empathetic. And it's unclear what I would do if I were to start a brand again. It's really fun to like do all the new stuff and like go explore.
Yeah.
Right? Really hard to eat your vegetables and just like really clean up the inside. And, as we always think about it, you don't put water into a leaky bucket, right? So it's like,
Right.
I'll shore that up
But
first.
people are doing it. And again, like I do have, grace and compassion for the side that they didn't have anything other. There wasn't something like Orita capable 3 years ago. They worked with a rules-based system that gave them the best possible result. Well, now we have the opportunity to provide a better experience. And you need to do that, and you should do that, right? Before it's like anything else. You have a restaurant and 3 out of 10 dishes are bad. Right. Everybody would go fix those 3 dishes before you started doing advertisement about how great it is and getting more people in the door. But they haven't. And I think we're finally getting to the point where they will. And then you go think about, okay, how much traffic can I get into this finally? And the brands that do that, again, the brands that are going to adapt, especially now as I would just say computing power. I'm not even going to go like to the AI space. I'm just going to say computer power is fast enough to have us change overall platform capabilities faster than ever before. You have to be testing, learning, and adapting faster than ever before.
It is funny. Like, I'm still kind of lingering on your comment about look, you spend 6 months and you get this beautiful case study, but you're not ready for the next one. The founding of Orita was actually my co-founders, right? I came in as an advisor when they were switching from being a consulting business to a software company, but they had spent literally years building like the IP to what became Orita. And then they built a scalable backend so we can do a free audit for everybody. So it's not like, we're not like trying to sell you a false bill of goods and be like, trust us. Like, look, we're going to go look at your data and show you what we see. If it's useful for you to fix, we're here. If not, we'll be here in a month and in a year, whatever, right? But we definitely weren't ready to scale to customers for a while. The interesting thing, maybe 2 other random points. I think people talking about AI, and again, we do this as well internally, right? So this isn't about like brands, but it's also like tech company. It's anybody. It's like, just focus on what is the job to be done first before you go try to find a solution, right? Like, make sure you understand what needs to improve. And then, especially and even you talk to massive companies, but a person within that company still has limited time and limited resources, even if the company has all the resources in the world. So everybody in every role needs to let certain fires burn and figure out what are the fires that are really worth fighting, that are high leverage or create too much risk for your customers. Obviously like that's a judgment call. I think about the more complex companies that are entering the space. Like, I'm buddies with Kyle Hensey, who's the founder of Good Day Software, which is like for Shopify brand specifically trying to replace NetSuite. And he was the founder of Chubby's. He like lived this through and through and understands it. And they spent 2 years building, because it's not like, oh, you replace an ERP, you can't give a shitty product. Like, it's got to work, right? It's the lifeblood of the business. And I look at companies like Sierra in the chatbot space or whatever, right, that are doing effectively for deployed engineers who are like, we will literally go on site and make sure that everything works. And then we will only charge you if we create value. And I think the businesses that are thinking about that and like really building a, no system's bulletproof, but like really figuring out how do I go serve the like most critical complex brands in the world are the ones that are ultimately going to win.
Yeah. I think that mentality, coupled with a viewpoint around, I'm going to mix in something different here, which is cybersecurity, which is the other part.
What's your password, by the way?
These tools, like any of these that we're talking about, when they get plugged in, that's another. It's an issue with cybersecurity for CIOs, and as this tech explodes, and the reason I think it ties back into what you're saying is people need to feel comfortable with what's going on, and nobody feels comfortable with AI. Like, even though you use it every day, in the back of your mind, you're like Terminator, right? I mean, this is It's just the reality. You can use it all you want. Back here,
Yeah.
what? Like,
I love it.
I don't know if I really trust. That's why I say please and thank you. Like, I know how this ends, but um, that have people there, the human in the loop is often used on the side of final approval and make sure it doesn't go crazy.
Yeah.
But there's new tech companies that are coming out, and it's AI or ML based, having that human in the loop for the rollout, the integration, and the support is going to be a game changing factor if you want to do it or not. I mean,
Yeah.
because people need to feel comfortable. They're not going to just hand it over, right?
Yeah, I'm very much with you.
Yeah. So what else is top of mind as we get to the end here? Any other any things you're excited about that you're seeing or?
Man, I'm very much inch deep, mile wide in commerce. I am too slow as a individual contributor with leveraging AI, and I'm starting, but I'm definitely the type of person who, like, I have something that works, I'm going to keep hammering it, right? It's like the brand owner who's doing great on Instagram is like, well, let me go spend money on Google. And it's like, no, keep focusing on Instagram until you can't. And then, right. And so for me, it's funny because my wife works like in big tech, in AI, and like it is like everything for her. I think just getting smarter and moving faster, right? Like I work a lot and I move quickly with decision making, but I'm barely tapping the potential if like I were to use tools more wisely. Um, to the discussion we were having before, though, I'm trying to be patient until I figure out like what is the thing that actually matters. Like where's there leverage in me investing time to do something that's then going to be rinse and repeat or at a higher level of quality. I think in the commerce space, I'm really excited about like what's happening on personal shopping. I think everything's further away than anybody thinks it is, but then when it hits, it hits. I think it's kind of analogous to like what Meta just rolled out with their glasses, right? Which is like it is actually augmented reality glasses that are actually really cool. And nobody thought it was going to happen. And everybody was making fun of them for years and years. And it's just like, oh, okay, you can actually, if you like, keep chiseling or right, like doing the work, you can go build something. And so I don't know, kind of a bit of a ramble, but I think in the commerce space, the thing I'm most interested in is how the personal shopping experience is going to change beyond AEO, GEO, people doing discovery. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, it is voice commerce because the way I use ChatGPT is I search completely different than I do Google. And a lot of with Google is I just don't like typing all the information in. I still don't even like to on ChatGPT. So you can just talk to it. And you get to the point where you can just talk back and forth, and then there's plugins that just go execute and buy. You can actually purchase something while you're just driving down the road. Like it's going to be sweet, and it's not that far away. It's not that far away.
I love it. Also, I didn't know you like talking. What is this?
I know, right? I know, right? Go figure. I'd rather talk than do anything. Have you seen last thing I'll go like the Google like notebook like LM or whatever it is? Have you seen this? Where
no, tell me.
So a good buddy Todd Hassefeld over at Colgate. It's basically it's a notebook and you can pull in all these different sources, but then when it's searched, it's only using that, so it's not going out to the web.
Got it.
But the cool thing you can do, and I know I asked my oldest who's in college, right? Like, hey, have you heard this? He's like, oh yeah, it's awesome. You can dump it in there. Then you can like query it. You can have it create you sample test questions. So you can load up all your notes and everything or anything online, any resources, but then what it searches it. But then you can hit create a podcast on it. And it will have two voices talking back and forth. And they add in the like,
Is anybody going to know that this is real?
It is. If you listen hard, you can tell, but it's super freaky.
That's cool.
Right? It's very cool. So, anyways, Aaron, so much fun, my friend. Thanks for coming back on another episode here. And with that, hey, I'd encourage everybody, go look up Aaron Schwartz, look up Orita. They're doing a ton of cool stuff in the retention marketing space. I mean, you heard it, SMS, email, all that fun stuff. But check them out. And with that, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Digital Deep Dive. Thanks, everybody, for listening in.